Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mute you all out so you can be strumming and tuning and whatever you need to do. I do like to give a personal hello to everybody, but this is a very, very large class. Usually the classes are somewhere, 8 to 10, sometimes 3, sometimes 15, but not, this one's 20, this one will be 25 if everyone can make it. Sometimes you can't make it to the class on the time, and you just check it out on YouTube, because as soon as this is done, I'm going to edit it down. Well, I'm not really going to edit. I'm going to put a title page on, and they call it a header and a footer. And I'll go ahead and do that, and then send you all a link for YouTube, and you can check it out on YouTube and go over as many times as you want to, because I've never had to take anything down that I have sent to YouTube. Now, this is 4 years of 8 classes a week. So there's 8 hours of video going up every week that they've not asked me to take down yet, which is really nice. So anyway, it'll be there. Let's go over a few things here, how this actually works. In the attendees list, there's an attendees list. Let's put it that way. And what I do is I take everything and break it away from my main column of stuff. I really don't know how yours looks because I get the teacher's edition. But you should see an attendees list, and you may be able to hit the plus sign there, or take the top of the title and drag it away. And then you'll have the full attendees list. They're in some kind of alphabetical order, or it depends on how you put them. They're in some kind of order. And next to your name somewhere, because you're all on different systems as well, is going to be either an arrow up or an arrow down button, or it may look like a hand. When you hit that, a yellow hand comes up on my screen that no one else can see. So if I ask an embarrassing question like, "Boy, did you guys really stink at that? Who stunk at that last one?" You put your hand up. I actually don't do that, but I usually say, I ask a lot of questions that narrow down the field to who is still maybe not understanding it, and then I try to figure out why. So see if you can find that and throw your hand up. And I'll go ahead and talk about it as so. Kayleen, Murray, Sue, Alan, you just did, Bill. Go ahead and leave it up there too, because I can put them down as well. Be looking for that hand. If you can't find the hand, then go ahead and use the chat box and say that you can't find it. But be looking for it. There you go, Christine. There's about 8 up now. Keep going, keep going. You're looking for it. Okay, I'm going to keep going while that's happening. What we have here is 2 different, can't find it. Gene, what kind of system are you on? And then we'll find out. Oh, saw it earlier, but not now. What kind of systems are you on? And then someone else will chat in where it is on that system. It's on the left-hand side for the Mac. Okay. Windows laptop. So I'm on a Windows laptop, but see, I may just be seeing the teacher's edition. Now, you can find your name though, right, Gene? Okay, you found it. Let's see where you're at. There you go. Where was it? And so the way I do this, you found it. The way I do this, and my eyes are so bad I have to lean into. Don can't find it? You've been through this before. You can also right-click your name, from what I understand. You can right-click your name and have several commands come up. See if that works for you. Upper left bar at the bottom. Okay, so you guys, if you can't find it now, read what these guys are chatting in, and you can pull your chat box away too and stretch it out pretty far. In fact, I'm going to do that. I'm going to move it to a different side. I've got it broken out. Okay. We have I've got 2 cameras running. One is the one that you're seeing me through, which is a high def camera. I'm going to leave your hands up for right now, okay? Because I want to see if more of them come in. And then right underneath that is another one that I'm pointing at. That's the one on the laptop that records the class, okay? And the whole thing will run. So as we're going along in the class, I'll say, does anyone have any questions? Because I'm not going to see you next week, unless I'm going to see you next week, don't be bashful. Now, also, you can blow up the picture of me, but I highly do not recommend it. That may be way too much ugly to be on the screen at one time. Mine is about that big. But you may want to blow it up just to see fingerings. Now, in the 101 class, what I typically will do is I'll send you about 6 pages on the first lesson, and it's how to read a chord chart for the rhythm. It's how to, the different parts of the guitar, and we discuss that. If it turns out that there's people in there that are more knowledgeable, we go into deeper stuff like a little bit of setup, or how to tell if your guitar's too hard for you right now, or is it buzzing, and why is it buzzing, etc. So, all right, so I'm going to put the hands down because questions may start coming up. And if you haven't found your hand up button, go ahead and let us know. I'm just going to put a line across the chat box so we know. There we go. A couple more came in. All right. Now, I want to mention first, I use, these are called on the internet, Steve's Too Thin Yellow Picks. In fact, they're not too thin. They're quite manly. And if they're signed like that, then all my licks have been put into that pick. And then it's up to you to try to get it out. But I use these. I have them on my website. You'll see them there. These are everything that I use can be found on my website because people will ask, where can I get that? And if you can't find it local, well, then you know you can always go to my site. These are 73 millimeter medium gauge. I like them because they're made of Delrin material, Delrin, and they have it's not slick like a regular plastic pick. They're a little more. They stick to moisture, so that if your brown pick is sliding around in your hand, it's two things. One is it's just too slick. If you switch to something like this, and they also make them, I can use this one or the green one. The green isn't .88. I can hold on to this much easier. I don't use a lot of pressure to hold the pick. You don't need to hold it with a death grip. When you do that, your notes will sound like they're tearing, and you don't want to do that. You want to have this nice fluid, full sound. So the grip on the right hand, let's do this right now, and then I'll go back into the picks. I'm using the side of my first finger and my thumb, and that's it. I've got air right here if I can find it. Okay, and these fingers are loose. Try that. And notice that I've got about a ½ inch of pick exposed on the front and the back. Okay? It doesn't do you any good on this side. Let me see if I can flip that down. Doesn't do you any good on that side if your finger is going down, because then that cuts. You can see that's all the pick I really got going. I need to pull that finger out of the way, but I don't want to pull it out so far that it becomes tense. Okay? Just kind of angle it out of the way. When I play rhythm or I play lead, the grip is the same. The main point is that my right hand has to be really loose. Really loose. One of the reasons that I don't have any repetitive motion injury, carpal tunnel, or any of those other things, is because I've always just practiced that way. A really loose right... Well, I shouldn't say always. The first 2 years were kind of rough. And I had no guidance. And if you guys know me from my workshops, you know that. I come from a really poor family, and we couldn't ask for anything, so I really didn't have lessons. I just had to kind of figure things out. So anyway, that's the right-hand grip. Now, the other thing with these picks is right now I'm in a really dry period here in Tennessee. We're raining today, so it's not as bad. But the last couple days, I would feel that pick just move around. That's all you got to do, just one little, and that pick is stuck there. Now, I do want to point out, don't get me wrong, there's no sales pitches going here, but I should have ran and grabbed my picks out of the container, but I did not. I use the guy in Knoxville that makes these blue chip picks has been wanting me to use them for years, and I always said no because they're too thick. And if I use a thick pick, my right hand starts to get tired and hurt right away. Right away. And my sound becomes very bassy sounding. The thicker a pick you use, the more highs are lost. I don't think the bass comes up, but I think the highs are lost. It doesn't make it louder. People think a pick being thick is going to make it louder, but no. It's not really what happens. So these are ones that he started making. I said, now if you can get it down to a 73, I'd be glad to give it a try. So what he did was he got it down to a 75, and it's called see it on there, a 30. He won't make them for the music store, so you can't find them out. But he makes them for me. The reason he won't make them for the music stores and in mass is because he's got a guarantee with them. If you break that pick, send him the pieces, he'll send you another one. They're expensive. It's not a cheap pick. They're $40 a pop. But again, it's like a lifetime thing, you know. So that I started using those, and they are slick as they can be. You can hold on to them easy, but they glide off the strings really slick. But they're expensive. I look at it and I go, okay, $40 or 40 cents or $40, you know. So anyway, questions on anything? Throw a hand up. Okay, let me go on because I've got a lot of stuff I want to do in this period. We talked about the right hand grip. That's the way you want to do it for your rhythm. You won't touch anything on the top of the guitar while you're playing. Okay, I don't want to go over the parts of the guitar right now. I'd rather do that. If you guys sign up in the 101 rhythm or the 101 lead, which will start, I think it's the 18, 19, whatever that Monday is, then we'll go over it because that's part of the class. This one, what I wanted to do is give you a taste of the rhythm stuff that I like to do and the lead stuff I like to do. Ideas on both. Okay. This guitar by the chance, by the way, also you can see more of it in the YouTube video. It's for whatever reason this camera that I'm using live is a little larger or a little zoomed in. But I try to shift around so that it ends up being in the shot. So I try for you guys. I want to make sure the nut is in the shot, and that'll give you perspective. If I do that, you won't know what fret I'm at. Okay, so always kind of keep your eye on the nut. The white piece. Now, again, if any questions come up, throw a hand up, and then I'll see that. If I'm not looking at the hands right away, I will eventually, and then I'll just say, well, let me open up your mic, and we can and we can figure out what's going on, or you can just chat it in. But throw a hand up so I get the distraction. Now, I sent you 3 pages, and I said don't really work on it because what we always do in the class is build on this stuff. So if we were doing this today, next week we would build on it. Today is going to be a crash course in building. Okay, so I sent you these 3 chords, right? G, C, and D. Throw a hand up if you can find where your hand is, if you already know those chords. And okay, a good majority. Not everyone. Okay, let me do this real quick. I want to go over how to read this chord chart. And let's just make sure we're all on the same page. When you look at a chord chart in this modern era, because in the old days it used to be this way, but now you're looking at it from the front, just like this. Okay, I think it's just like that. Yeah, it'd be just like that. And Larry, I'm going to throw your hand down. If that's a question, throw it back up, because it came in late there. All right, the way taking a look at that chart, at these charts. G, C, and D. The first string is all the way is your highest string. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. And Murray, I'm going to throw your hand down. If that's a question, throw it back up. Because I think it was still on how to read the chord chart, and you finally found your hand there. Okay, right. So your first string is the highest one. The bass string is your lowest. Okay, if you break a third string, which is a G string, if you broke that string and went in and counted from here 1, 2, 3, 4 and said I need a 4th string, they're going to give you the one next to it. Okay, so first string is the highest, and then 6th string is the lowest. So looking at this chart, the strings are the ones coming down, right? 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Strings are coming down. The string with the 4 dot on it is your first string. All right, the dots tell you what fret to put your fingers in, and then the numbers are giving you the fingers that I want you to use. All right, go ahead and let's find that G chord. I think all of you, just about everyone has thrown their hand up. So at this point now, if you do not know these chords, throw a hand up. And then I'll just, I can elaborate a little more on the explanation, but, okay. I have you using, all right, I have you using, yeah, there's a couple there. So I have you using your, if you look at the dot with a 1, if you count that over or look at it, it's really the second string from the lowest, and it's in the 2nd fret. Now, whenever you put your fingers down on the frets, you want to move them up as far as possible. See, this looks like I'm actually over the next fret. It looks like I'm on the metal, but you want to be right up to the metal because that's the easiest place to push down. Go ahead and push that 1 down so that you get a clear note, and then back off the pressure as much as you can until the note just starts to get fuzzy, and then add a little more pressure. So you're seeing how light you can actually push that down and still have the note there. I'm hardly pushing it all. Now, if you've done that, move halfway back in the fret, but don't change your finger. And now hit it, and you'll see it went away. Okay? Which shows that the same pressure back here will not work. You have to add more pressure. So you have to be as far up as you can in the fret. Now add your 2nd finger to the 6th string 3rd fret. 1, 2, 3. We also go over tuning in the other class. All right, so I've got these 2 down. I could not reach when I first started, and I didn't have anyone to tell me anything different. I started using my little finger on the 1st string, and that's why you see a 4 there. Go ahead and hold that chord that way. Now, if you can't get to the chord now, do not worry about it, okay? Because you go back over this video. That's the beauty of this, okay? All right, so go ahead and hold that chord. You got your first 2 in the bass, your little finger on the 1st string. That's your G chord. Without going into the reasons why or even talking about the notes, that's your G chord. Okay, now if I take my ring, the reason I like this position, because some of you, throw a hand up if you use your first 3 fingers on that. You see a bunch, and then throw a hand up if you use your last 3 fingers on that. And that's going to be a lot too. All right, so you may say, well, then why would I? Why? Okay, I threw them all down. There's over half of you use different fingerings, and they're still coming in. The reason I like to do this is, for one, is if I go ahead and take my ring finger and put it on the 2nd string 3rd fret. If this is new to you, don't even worry about it right now, but you'll get it later. Then I have what some people call the bluegrass G. It's not a bluegrass G. It's another D note that's been added to the chord, because D is your 4th string open. So it's just another. It's another of the notes that make up the chord added back into it. But what's nice about this chord is when you do what we call the punch, and that's where you hit your bass note out in the middle, and then you bring your hand back towards the saddle, white piece, bridge, and you strum back there, and you get this real hard strum. See, the tones are different. So I like that. If you go back to your G chord, take that ring finger and put it on the 3rd string, try strumming that one time. You're going to find a chord that you do not want to hit again. Okay? So we know not to do that. Go to the 4th string, 3rd fret. That's the G7 that I like to use. Okay, so that's a G7 chord. You're adding an F note back into the chord. See, it's a nice dark, subtle G7 chord with a beautiful tone, as opposed to this whiny 1st string one. That's way high. I'll use that sometimes, but typically if I want to stay out of the way because I'm playing backup, which means I'm behind everybody else, I'm going to use this G7. Okay, listen to it change into G7. See, that was real subtle and pretty. Okay, any questions on that? Just throw a hand up. Okay, so looking at the chart, the 3 chords we have to get down are G, C, and D. But we also want to write in that G7. So copy that G down here. Just like, you don't worry about the numbers because you got the numbers up here. But just write the dots in the same place. And if you're slow at doing it now, don't worry about it because I'm going to plow through this. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and write it in. I'm putting a dot on the 6th string, 3rd fret, a dot on the 5th string, 2nd fret, and a dot on the 1st string. Okay? And then I'm going to add a dot to the 4th string, 3rd fret. And that's what it would look like. Okay? The only other one that we're really going to have to make sure we know is this D7 right here. Okay, so I think you can get that. So I'm just going to keep going on, okay? All right, the D7 is opposite to the D. The D looks like this. I've got my first finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. And then my second finger goes to the 1st string, 2nd fret. Now, what's tough for beginners on this, you can get these two okay, is this next one. Because when you add that one, the 1st string typically goes away. And what you have to do is you have to, without putting pressure down, don't worry about holding, if you're not holding it tight, then yeah, put a little more pressure down. But it's typically rotating your fingers around so that this second finger clears this 1st string. Okay? So what you'll try to do is hit your 1st finger note, 3rd string, then hit the 1st string, and then add that 3rd finger down, and then hit the 1st string. If it ends up like this, then you're going to have to actually bend these knuckles more so that just the tip of that finger goes into the string. That's what's happening. It's almost, if it's too straight, by the time you try to reach it over, it has no bridge over the 1st string, so you have to bend that knuckle or push your hand up a little higher. Let's talk about that real quick. With these chords, I'm really just resting my thumb on the back of the neck here. It's really loose and my hand is hanging. If I were to kick this off of here, my hand would drop off because I'm not holding it up. I'm just hanging it there. Okay? You don't have to hold it like a baseball bat. So when I'm holding that D, let me see if I can get the money shot in here. I don't know if I can. It's tough with this mic, one. I don't know if I can get it. Let's see, right? No, but point being is that I can stick a pen between my hand and the back of the neck. Okay? So I'm not up against it like I was holding a baseball bat. All right? All right, so these are the 3 chords we have to get. And a lot of you already play them. So I'm going to keep moving. On this D chord, the D7 is just the opposite. These 2 notes stay the same, but these 2 fingers hold it. And then your 1st finger goes down. So if I was to draw it out, I would put a dot on the 2nd string, 1st fret, and then the 3rd string and 1st string. Now, if I needed a reminder of what fingers to use, I would write the numbers over. And here's a screenshot for you. So see, it's just the opposite. But I've got my 1st finger on the 2nd string, 2nd finger on the 3rd string, and 3rd finger on the 1st string. Okay? All right. Questions, comments? Now, here's the thing. I've got this much time. And I'm trying to do rhythm and lead in one class. That's the reason I have rhythm on Monday night and then lead on Tuesday night, because we can just do rhythm on one night and then lead on the other. And it's not as chaotic for me and seemingly for you. John, I'm going to throw your hand down. Throw it back up if that's a question there. Okay, let me open up your mic. Oh, which strings to play? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. What string?
You find a bottom 4?
No, you play all the ones that don't have an X on them. I'm glad you brought that up. Let me mute you back out. See on the... Oh, yeah, now, wait a minute now. Oh, I just... thanks, John. The C chord should have an X on the 6th string. And the D chord has an X on the 6th string as well. Okay? And let me throw those hands back down. Let me see if Ed and John, was that another question there? Ed, let me open up your mic because it's quicker. Yes, sir. You're on the air, Ed.
My hand just keeps going up and down at random.
Oh, okay. Let me mute you out. So I will ignore your, there it is again. I'll ignore that. And then if you have a question, then throw it in the chat box. All right. So there's our chords. Now, let's look at what we're doing with them. I wrote it out here on the second sheet, the GCD rhythm. Okay, what you're really doing on the G chord, on the G, I just read John's comment again. On the G chord, what you're trying to do is hit the root of the chord in the fifth. If you don't know your notes, then that doesn't mean anything to you. For the note readers in the group, it means the root of the chord on a G chord would be G, and then you count up 5 from there. G, A, B, C, D. Okay, now, so we would hit a G and a D note. That's what I actually wrote here in the tablature. Now, if you don't read chord charts, then you don't know how tablature works. So let me just explain it real quick, which is something we don't do until like the second or third lesson on the rhythm and on the lead. Well, on the lead, I think we do it. We would do it first. It's just really not at this pace. Okay. You have, if you don't read notes, I'm not going to try to teach you how to read notes. Okay, but on the numbers, that's your tablature, and what this is showing you is what strings to hit, what frets to hit, and that's what tablature does. So the highest line going across here, let me just make it bold. The highest line there in the tab is your first string. And the lowest line would be your sixth string. So if you were holding a G chord, you would see that you're holding that 3 on the lowest line on the sixth string, and then you're also holding these others. Now the open string is involved because you'll actually hit it. So what I have here is hitting the sixth string, 3rd fret while I hold a G chord. This finger's not down, though it may look like it is. 6th string, and then a strum, and then the 4th string open, which it is. A strum, and that's my pattern for G. Let's look at that. Hold your G chord, hit the 6th string, strum, the 4th string, and strum. Now, that's the pattern you want to try to set up. You also want to make your right hand look like it's shaking off water when you do the strum. And that gives us a whip. It changes our strum from a beginner sound to a whip from this to this. Get a whip in that right hand. If you can't feel what it feels like to shake water off your hand, put some water on the back of your hand near the sink and try to snap that off of there and see what it's like to get that, because you can't throw it off. You have to snap it off. And that'll give you this. Now, these are all quarter notes. Everything we're going to do for this rhythm is in quarter notes. Quarter notes are always hit with a down swing. The strums are down, the bass notes are down. Okay? I'm going to go on to the C. C is going to be a little different. C, you want to alternate this bass string. You hit the 5th string while you're holding your C, and then take that ring finger, move it down to the 6th string, and I'm going to kill off, I'm not going to try to, because it dies a natural death, the 5th string. It's gone. So when the string is gone, you don't hear it in the strum. And then I don't have to hurry to get my finger back. Okay? And then when I go to the D, I'm going to hit the 4th string, and then the 5th string. Now, for those of you that don't play chords, don't worry about it, because you're going to do that when you get off this. Just go ahead and monitor this right now, and work on it when you get, get the YouTube video. Just start going through it again. Put it on pause. Make sure you got it, okay? Now, here's a little professional trick. My thumb, you're not supposed to hit the 6th string on a D. I can hit it on the E, and here's the reason why. Because my 1st string is open, and that's an open E. My 6th string is an open E. Both of these have the same name. So the low E can really go with the chord. It just sounds junky. It's too far away, tone-wise, from this note. But you can go like... And that sounds okay. See, the E can go with the chord. Now, in the D chord, a E does not, because we hold down the 2nd fret on the 1st string, which would mean that we would have to hold down the 2nd fret on the 6th string. And some people do this. Hook that thumb over and actually fret it. Now, what I was telling you is a professional trick is I'm just kind of rubbing against it and killing it off. Technical term is muting. And then you won't hear it in case I slip and actually hit that string. So you won't hear it. Okay, so there's your D. Now, let me finish this out and I'll check on questions. If I'm holding a G or a G7 or a G minor, if I'm holding a C or a C7 or a C minor, if I'm holding a D or a D7 or a D minor, the bass notes are the same. Okay, so when you see a G chord on a page, in 4/4 time, you got 4 beats. Bass, strum, bass, strum. When you have 4 beats, that's what you do for G's and C's and D's. Now, I told you, and this is a little far ahead. We don't. I don't mean to do that, but I kind of have to. I can't help it. I told you it was a 1 and a 5. It's a root and a 5. So if you're holding an A chord, you would hold the A. You would hit the A note and whatever the 5 is. A, B, C, D, E. 5 away from wherever you're starting. Starting on the root, calling out the root of the chord in question. So if I'm on a F, F is going to be right here on 1, and I count up 5 from there. Don't make this a G if you're talking about F, because that's what most people do. They'll go, okay, F, G, A, B, C, D, and that'd be wrong. It's F, okay? F, G, A, B, C. So it'd be an F and a C. Okay, so across the board, that's it's a 1 and a 5 for your majors, your minors, and your 7s. Any questions on that? Throw a hand up, except for Ed, because I'm not going to believe his hand's going up. It just went up, so I don't know if that's right or not. Okay, now, let me take you over to this page. Blue Ridge Cabin Home. There's a well-beaten path down this old mountainside. Okay, now Ed, if that's, I'm going to throw your hand down. If that's really a question, throw it up real quick. Okay, now I did put, what I like doing on these is I'll send you out a PDF. If you're in the class like you got today, I sent it out a couple hours early. I have a timer on my phone that says, "Up, today it's time to send it out right now." So I send it out in the middle of the day typically. Saturday I usually don't do a class, so that's why I just did it 2 hours early. Okay, so now I put at the bottom here suggested listening, because this is Flat and Scruggs doing it, and I think and the Bluegrass Album Band. You can't get much better than that on a song like this, you know. And it's a hyperlink. So if you're on a PC, if you hold down Control and hit that with your mouse, it'll go right to the YouTube link. Okay, I'm not sure how to do it on a Mac, but I'm sure you guys do. That would be on the PDF. It's not going to do you any good to push down on if you print it out. Okay? Let's just be clear. All right, so now, above each one of these measures, with the exception of the first measure, which is called a pickup measure, it's the measure really starts where the chord is. Now, if you look across there, and this will verify that. Here's your pickup measure at the very beginning. It's got 2 beats in it. Then where the chord is, that's really your first measure. 1, 2, 3, 4 measures across there with a pickup measure. When I go down to the next line, see the 5 at the very beginning of that line? That's saying that that's the 5th measure. If we counted this pickup measure, that would be the 6th. Okay? All right, so now, above each measure is a chord symbol. You're going to do 2 things when you play this song, and that's why I kind of picked this one for us. You're going to be playing the rhythm And then when you get down to the end, you're going to come back and start on the notes. And that's when, to me, that's when the guitar really lit up. When I heard Doc Watson playing Black Mountain Rag or Wabash Cannonball, it wasn't playing the lead to it. Or I should put that chord, that G chord I showed you before. Watch it. Hear that punch in there. Okay, so when I first heard Doc bring the guitar to life, I got away from the rhythm, which then I learned that in the real world, you're going to play rhythm as much as you're going to play the lead. If you're going to play the rhythm more. If you're at a jam session and you're a lead picker, and you got 5 people going around the circle, you're going to play rhythm 4 times, and then here's your turn to play the lead once. And then it goes back around, you're playing rhythm for everybody else. So you got to get your chords down. So that's why we do it first. When your chords are smooth, you're kind of done with it. That's why on my online classes, I only have 3 levels of rhythm. I've got the 101, 102, 103. Okay, because by the time you finish 103, which for some of you, it could be okay, 103. 102 is pretty rough, I would think. I'd rather people go start off on the easier classes just because I don't want them to skip over anything. Because just like this, we do a ton of stuff. It's not like we just do a lesson, we talk about everything. So anyway, that's why I only have 3, because when you finish the 3rd one, which you may do the first course and then take 6 weeks off and do another lead class and then do another rhythm, or see what I mean? Through the year and take the rhythms, but you have everything on that. You just have to apply it to all the songs you know. So that's why I say, like on this one, your rhythm for G is a 6-strum, 4-strum. I see 2 measures of G on this song, so I'm going to just do that twice. Then I'm going to do the C chord. And then the D, okay? Now, if I didn't stop to tell you, I messed up on my D chord. I hit 4 strum. It should have gone to the 5th string and then strum, but I hit the 4th string again. I missed it. I didn't have to stop and tell you because I don't know how many of you would have caught it. Christine would have. But I just casually and calmly go on. My next one, it's supposed to be 4th string, strum, 5th string, strum, but I missed the 5th. But the next one would have been the 4th, strum, and then the 5th. So I just went on to what would have been next. Calmly and casually. Don't panic. Okay, so I want you to go all the way through this. We won't do it now. But let me play through this all the way, slow. And also, we're at 38 minutes and 25 seconds now. So if you run this up to that in the YouTube clip, you'll be at this practice point. Okay? So you may want to write that down. Right now, I'm at 38 minutes and 40 seconds now. 2, 3, 4. Let me go through it. That whip in your hand. I got through the D's that time. Now you hear this little upswing I'm doing. I'm not really trying to. If you try to, it sounds really tacky. Okay? 2, 3, 4. Actually, for you, you would go on back. Okay? All right. Any questions on playing that rhythm? Just throw a hand up. Okay, let me go on. Now, here's the next thing. Well, actually, I want to go on to the notes really quickly. Okay? In the tablature, and then if we have time, I want to come back to something else. I don't know that we will. in the tablature in Blue Ridge Cabin Home, okay, there's a lot of open strings here. These are just about all downswings. The only time they're not is when the stems are tied together to another set or to other notes. You'll look on the second line, third measure. Those are called eighth notes. Those eighth notes go twice as, two of those eighth notes equal the same amount of time as one quarter note. 2/8 equal a quarter. Okay? In this case, we got 4 tied together to start. Let's try to hit this now. Let's try to hit that now. It should sound like this. 4th string open, and then the 2nd fret, and I'm using a 2nd finger. And then the, wait, no, it's a 5th string. So it'll be the 5th string open, and then the 2nd fret, 2nd finger, and then the 4th string open, and then the 2nd fret. They're all tied together, so I want to swing down on the first one, up on the next, down on the next one, up on the next. And then finish it out by hitting the 3rd string open. So it'll sound like this. Try it with me. Okay? Okay, throw a hand up when you got it. So you see how that's supposed to go. And Ed, I won't trust your hand if it goes up, all right? All right, so what we did, now if you didn't get it, don't worry about it because you got time later. I just have to really move fast now. Scary, isn't it? And what I did was I picked the hard part in the song and got it out of the way. I did it first. Let's look at the bottom line. Okay? The bottom line has this run in it. Okay, again, really watch your down-ups. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And that's the Lester flat G run. So I'm hitting the 5th string open, and then the 1st fret, 2nd. Go to the next string, but it has to be an upswing. When I hit that 4th string for the first time, I need to check myself and make sure I'm hitting that up. Because your right hand just goes back and forth like this all the time. And what it's really doing is going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Even when I hit quarter notes, quarter, 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 they're all hit on a downswing. And because my hand is coming up between those downswings, my time is perfect because my pendulum is perfect. So the right hand is going to mark your time when you get this smooth. When you get it choppy, you're going to have to work on it. But it just goes like this. That's the point of, and if we would just do that, but people fight that. They fight that upswing. What you're going to do, if you're not used to this, is you're going to hit this run going down, up, down, and then you're going to hit the next string down. I know it. I've seen it. But it's not that way. It has to be an upswing, and then the next one's down, and then the next one's up. It alternates on every swing when they're 8th notes. Okay? If I do it fast, correctly, it sounds like that. If I do it with all downs, then it's choppy and I'm punching at it. You can hear the difference. Okay, you work those two out first, then we start going through the whole song and see that we can get through that. Any questions on that so far? Okay, so we're looking at 2 separate things on this page, which is why I chose this one. You got your rhythm to get down, boom, chuck, all the way through. Okay? As soon as you get done with your rhythm, you're going to come back and start your notes. Now, this will be a university student question. If I'm playing my rhythm and I hit the last measure of the song G, boom, chuck, then I go back to the very beginning and hit those 2 pickup notes in the lead. If I hit those, I've just hit 6 beats together. Or I've hit one measure with 4 beats and then one measure with 2. That's odd. It doesn't work. What I actually have to do to sew the end of the rhythm to the beginning of the lead is at the last measure, I can only hit 2 beats of rhythm. If I'm not going back to play the lead, then I hit my 4 beats. But if I'm going back to hit the lead, this is important, at 45 minutes and 4 seconds. If I'm going back to hit the lead, then I can only hit my boom, chuck, and then I hit the 2 pickup notes at the very beginning. Do not hesitate to throw your hand up, because this is our time now. So is there any questions on that? You have to sew the rhythm into the lead, and the way you do it is you equalize it out. It can only be 4 beats in the measure. So when I finish these 2 measures of G, I got the one measure, the first measure at the end. 2, 3, 4. The next one is 1, 2, and then I start. I hit the 4th string open, then the 3rd string open, 2nd string. Okay? Now, any questions there? Okay, so now, when I do this lead, let's take a look at it. The quarter notes are the black ones colored in. The one that starts in the first measure where there's a well, the word well, that one is not colored in. That means it's a half note. It gets 2 beats. Okay, so when I hit it, I'm gonna count 1, 2, and then the other 2 notes are going to be. I'm counting 4 beats in the measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I go on. The next measure has an open 2nd string, 2 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I hit the next 2 notes. See how that's going to work? And it tells you the string by the line going across, the horizontal line, and the numbered fret. It doesn't tell you what finger to use. So let me just point this out. Write it down at 46 minutes and 52 seconds. Is that for this song, let's just keep this simple. Your first finger is going to hold down anything that lands on the 1st fret, 2nd finger on the 2nd, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret, little finger on the 4th fret, if there was one. Later, I'm going to change that, because that's not a rule I'm going to stay to, but that's going to keep this simple for you. All right, let's look at the 3rd measure. You have a slur between 2 notes. The first one is an 8th note. The second one is a dotted quarter note. The dot adds half the value back into the note to make it last longer. So it was a 1 beat note. Now we're adding half of that back in, so it's 1.5 beats for the 2nd note. And the other half beat to make everything even out is the first one of the measure. That 3rd string open's got a little flag on it. That little flag says it's a half. It's called an 8th note, right? So it's a half beat. Really what this was a way that I could write out a hammer-on the way you're really going to play it. A hammer-on is when you're going to hit the string open and slap that finger back down there. Okay? Just like the hammer of a gun. Bam! Okay? If you push it down onto it, it goes away. So it's got to have an attack. Okay? All right, so I wrote H-O there. I usually don't do that because a hammer-on can only go from a low note to a high note. And then the other thing we use is a pull-off, and it can only go from a high to a low. A pull-off would be a 2 to an open. Hammer-on from an open to a 2. From a 2 to a 3. From a 2 to a 4. Pull-off can only go from a high to a low. Okay? I only hit the first note, though. Okay? I'm only going to hit the open and let this hand do the hammer-on. Bam! You heard that go down. Okay. So I usually don't write H-O. The only time I do is if I'm writing a Christmas song out, and I'll put 2 hammer-ons in something, and then I can put ho-ho. Folks, I'll be here all week. Try the liver. All right, on the 2nd line at the last measure, you have another hammer-on. Open to 2 on the 4th string. Then there's another hammer-on the 3rd line, just like the first one. Let me play all the way through this. Now write this, or keep this track. I'm at 49 minutes and 30 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, I just finished it out with 2 strums. Hey, you like that one, Guyleen, huh? Now, any questions, comments? Questions on that? All right. Now, I just sped right through that. Actually, here's speeding through it. Got that 3rd finger down. Okay. That's the speed that it'll go. That's when you hear Flat and Scruggs do it and you hear the Bluegrass Album Band doing it. And that's just about the break that Tony Rice takes on that. Okay, any questions on the solo part of it? Any questions there? Again, typically when we do this class, lead is on one day. We don't really talk about rhythm, and rhythm is on another day. So I've combined the two here, and for the pace of things, it may seem confusing until you go back to the video and watch it a couple times. So plan on doing that. As soon as this is done, I'll go ahead and edit it out and do what I'm going to do. And then I'll go ahead and upload it. It takes about 15 minutes there, 20 minutes. And then I'll send you the link before it's finished uploading. And you can keep clicking on it to see when it's going to be active, okay? All right, so now... we're so close. Come on, Steve, let's go. Now, I've got a question for you, and we're talking about doing rhythm stuff. Now we're back to the rhythm. I'm going to do this fairly quickly. I'm not going to tell you the why. I'm going to just put it into place. When I go from a G to a C chord, someone here, the upper university students, what chord do I switch to go from a G to a C? Just type it in the chat box. Let me get a swig of cold coffee while that's happening. Do you know? Good, John. It's the G7 chord gets you, and that's why I wanted you to write down a G7 chord, and I wanted to go over it. A 7th chord dictates movement. What I wrote here was G, C, and D. That's very plain and doesn't show any movement. If I'm on a G chord, I can be strumming that all day long until Mama slaps me, right? But if I throw a G7 in there, I'm going to C. I'm moving, as I shall now demonstrate. Something's happening. My spidey sense tingled. Look, I got bumps. Okay? When that G7 hits, I gotta move. Okay? And a G7 takes me to C. Okay, now, for the university students in the group, what does a C7 take me to? I can tell you why we know this, but I just don't think I'll have time to go through the explanation. But you would understand it. So what does a C7 take me? Right, Larry. C7, right, Joe, takes me to F. F is not my next chord after the C. D is. Okay? No, well, Ed, it would actually just take me into F. It doesn't have to take me into F7. It's not till I changed the F to an F7 that I have to go somewhere else. Okay? So I would just go into F. If I hit a C7, that's not the next chord, so I leave the C alone. Leave it alone. Okay? When I get to D, though, if I turn the D into a D7, a D7 chord leads me to G. All right, so here's what we do now. The first measure is going to be a G. I wrote the chords out, right? First measure is going to be a G. The second one, you're turning it into a G7. That will musically and melodically take you into a C chord. You leave the C's alone. Then you go to D. The first one's going to stay D. The second one's going to change to a D7. Okay? I just write it in. And once I tell you the formula to it, which I can do it in the other, we'll have time in the other class. Once I tell you the formula to it, then I send you through all the books you know. And if they haven't made these 7th changes, then you put them in there. Use a pencil in case you're going to sell the book later. Of course, it wouldn't be one of mine because my books always have the 7ths in it. It musically tells everyone around you something's going on. And if you know the trick of where it leads to, you know once I hit that 7th chord where it's going. You know where it's going. Okay, so the D7 brings me to G. Now I go through this whole thing, and every time I have a G chord before C, I'm going to turn it into a G7. And every time I have a D before a G, I'm going to turn it into a D7. Okay, so I got it on the third line, second measure, and the fourth line, second measure. Okay, so now, first thing you do, if the chords are new to you, just play G, C, and D. You do that for a day or two. After that, you start adding in the seventh chords because you got to change. Okay, you got to get used to the changes. Now you got 5 chords in this one off this one page. We have the quarter notes. I'm hesitating. You know, if I ever just stop like that, it's not like your screen froze up or I had a stroke or anything. It's I had one more thing I kind of wanted to say. This would be for the university students in the group. And this is something we work on probably around the 3rd or 4th week in the Rhythm 101, is we start adding bass walks into what we're doing. Then we add in bass runs. Okay? The walks are quarter notes, the runs are eighth notes. So then this at the end of the page here is a run. That's a G run. Has nothing to do with the rhythm though. We would also do that in the rhythm. Okay, what I have at the bottom of the chord page, which I was hoping I'd have time to fully explain, are the first one is a G walk that leads to C. Okay, that's why you see the double line there. It's a 1 measure walk. It sounds like this, and I'll go in. You can hear it going to that note. What it does, what that measure does, is it will replace in the rhythm the measure before the chord change. So where I told you just to go to G7, when you're first learning the chords, that's all you do. You just change the G7 and you hold your breath and you hope you made it right. Okay? When you get that smooth, you start adding in the bass walks. And this is a bass walk in any song you play in 4/4 time that leads from G to a C. So anytime you have a G chord in a song in 4/4 time in any of the books you have that's right before a C chord, you can throw that walk in there. So it would sound like this. There's a well-beaten path down this old mountain. See? Just walked me right in there. It also told everybody something's happening. Okay? So for the university students in the group, the next one is a C walk that goes to D. Down this old, and it's the measure before the chord change. Down this old mountainside where I wander. The next one is a D that leads back to G. When I was a boy, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Da, da, da. So it sounds pretty cool when you do that. Okay, let me do a recap because we've done a ton of stuff and there is 1 minute left before, and I know because my recorder has a timer on it. All right, so we did the rhythm stuff first. We looked at the chords, how to hold a chord using the chord chart. That's the first thing you'll see on the video. Then we wrote in the G7 and the D7. Okay, then we looked at the rhythm itself. Boom, chuck, boom, chuck. What notes do I hit with the chord? It's a 1 and a 5 if I know how to read notes. If I don't worry about it. I use this chart. A G is going to be the 6th string and then a strum, a 4th string and strum. All right, the C is 5th string and then the 6th string, moving a finger down, and then the D. Okay. Then we looked at playing the actual rhythm itself. Boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, all the way across. Then we add in the 7th chords. Then we work on the lead to it. Okay, then we add in the bass walks. Then we take it to the house. Because when you play through all that stuff, they're going to start throwing flowers up on the stage for you. Okay, the timer's going to go click right here.